Hey guys, welcome to the third part of my reading the visual novel Lyre, and it's been brought to my attention that since this is a visual novel, it's not really a game, but it can be a game. But yeah, but I've been thinking I'd like to call these a let's read instead of a let's play. So maybe yeah. So let's get started with this let's read. They'll be the death of you. Betrayal never comes from your enemies, but from those closest to your heart. And it always starts with trust. It's been almost a week since I've woken up. The weather gets colder and colder every day, and I find myself yearning for a warm bath every morning when I wake up. The past couple of days have been pretty relaxing to say the least. I've had plenty of time to work on preparations for the ball, and I've been taking it at a nice pace. Well, a pace that's nice for me at least. All I really have to do is make sure that resources are readily accessible and calculate the cost of everything. I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's the gist of it. I've been wandering around the castle with Lyall on my free time. Although I rarely allow myself free time, but every day I do take a break. He's been very good company the past couple days, and he's been showing me around. We haven't gone into the city yet, but I've been able to explore most of the castle. Lyall has managed to cause my inner child to break out as we laugh and joke while walking through the halls. It's funny how he's supposed to be my guard, yet so far he's been my glorified guide. I do appreciate the assurance though, and having someone there to keep me company and show me around is really nice. It's a good thing that we get along. I'd hate for this whole thing to feel too professional. The other day, he took me up to the tallest tower where you could see the entire city and fjord. His fur was blowing in the wind, and he had that dreamy look in his eyes. I've spoken to Raynar a couple of times. I'm not too sure how I should feel about him. He's very kind, and seems to have his wits about him. There's still something very intimidating about him, though. At the beginning of every interaction with him, I start things out anxious, but then he manages to completely change the mood of the room. I guess he's just a big, friendly guy. I've ran into Adrius a few times during the week. He hasn't really paid me much mind aside from the occasional greeting, and I honestly prefer it that way. But with the few interactions that we've had where it would have been extremely awkward if we didn't talk, it felt more like an interrogation. He's constantly asking me questions about Erin. I have a feeling that he doesn't talk with people much. I also feel like the more I avoid him, the better. And then there's Leaf. I haven't seen him much. I passed him in the hallway once and we had a chat that wasn't too interesting. He's probably busy with his own work, which makes me feel like I've been too relaxed lately. I should probably crack down on my work as well. I get out of the bath and turn off the water. I don't feel as sticky this time since I only used a bit of soap. Walking over to one of the benches, I grab a towel and begin to dry myself off. I run the cloth down my body and between my legs, making sure I get all of the water off my body. It's very cold in here, and I know that it's even colder out there. I dress myself and leave through the door. Immediately, the cold hits my face, and I start to speed walk back to my room. It's a crisp fall afternoon, and the sun is casting a warm hue on the trees below. My footsteps echo down the hall as I get closer to the door to my room. I reach the door, and when I open it, I'm blasted with the warm air from my room. When I enter the room, Lyall is leaning back in one of the padded chairs, rocking it on its back legs. I close the door behind me and lean against it. There's no fire. How is it so warm in here? Well, he leans forward in his chair. The castle is built above a hot spring. It's where we get the water for our plumbing. The water runs through pipes built into the walls and the heat rises up through the foundation. His demeanor slowly transitions into that of a happy child who is explaining something they're very interested in. It heats up the castle, which can be very nice during the colder seasons. It can be a real pain in the butt during the summer though. My room will sometimes get so hot that I have to sleep with the covers off and the windows open. I bet that's certainly a sight. That's actually really interesting. And ingenious. Thanks. It's also why there's so many plants growing within the castle. He gestures to all of the leaves and vines on the walls. During this time of year, plants like to slowly work their way inside the castle walls seeking warmth. It's not really a problem for any of us, and Rainer does love his plants. Yeah, I've noticed that. My room alone is decorated with potted flowers, but I've seen way more plants scattered throughout the castle's many corridors and rooms. What about the plants in pots outside? I think those get brought inside once the weather becomes too harsh for them. That makes sense. We stand in silence for a moment before I walk over to my desk and sit down in the plush cushioned seat. I peruse the notes that I've made on some of the arrangements for the food. Everything seems to be in order, so I set it off to the side and grab another document. I have a list of questions and instructions on this parchment for one of the servants to take down to the market. I need to work out the cost of the meat, and I also need to settle the payments for each butchery that provides. I take this document and set it in one of the trays outside to be collected. If there's nobody there to deliver, it's just usually what I have to do. Someone will come by to pick it up. I sit back down and see Lyall is now standing up from his chair looking out the window. His tail, which I am now able to see clearly without the bulky cape in the way, wags left and right. He turns to me and shakes his head, smirking. You work too much. I'm sorry, what? I don't think I work enough. How much have you gotten done so far? I've done a lot, but I still have a lot more to do. I mean, I've already finished most of it, if I'm going to be honest with myself. I just wanted to get it done ahead of time. You've spent all morning slaving away at that tiny desk of yours like a workaholic. Then you went to take a bath, and now you're back to work. You really don't need to worry about this. It's not even your primary job while you're here. That doesn't start for a while. He reaches over and swipes my checklist off my desk. Hey! He turns away from me and skims over it for a hurried moment. He then turns around with a mocking look on his face. Most of this is already checked off. That's only one of the lists. He swipes the other list gracefully and holds it in front of his face. This one is almost complete too. He lets go of it and it floats down and lands on the other list. I look at him with the deadpan. I'm just trying to get it done and out of the way. You're kissing up to the king, Rysler. No, I'm not. I'm just doing my job. He lets out a laugh and throws up his paws in a defensive manner. Relax, I only jest. I roll my eyes and give a defeated yet annoyed chuckle. He runs a paw through his neck fluff as if it were a human's beard. I sometimes forget how similar we are in terms of mannerisms. Well, I am going to go on a walk. He walks over to the door and looks to me. Lock the door, okay? I really don't think that's necessary. Just do it, please. Fine. He walks through the door and closes it behind him. Not wanting to upset him, I take the key off the desk and lock the door. I grab the checklist and mark off some of the tasks that I did. As I lean against the bed frame and scribble on the list, I notice something out of the corner of my eye. There's a piece of parchment on the desk that's been drawn on. I pick it up and examine it. It's the drawing of a flower. Aw, looks like a nice flower. It looks like the one on my desk. I assume Lyall drew this, given the signature. I didn't know he liked to draw. For something that he most likely scribbled while bored, this is very good. I place the drawing neatly back on the desk and walk over to my bed. I want to get back to work, but that bath made me feel very tired, and now all I want to do is sleep. I throw myself onto the mattress and pull the blanket over me, slowly drifting off. The hallway floor feels cold beneath my feet. I'm outside of some room. It looks like the entrance to my room, but there's something different about it. It feels like some sort of twisted version of my room. There's no windows in the hallway, and I'm further into the castle. My hands don't feel like my hands either. I feel like a different person. I try the door, but it's locked. There doesn't seem to be any other doors in sight. With this, I begin to walk down the hall. There are no other doors from what I can see. The corridor just seems to stretch on endlessly. As I walk further and further down the dimly lit hall, I can feel chills running up and down my body. The temperature seems to drop with every step I take. My steps become a bit stumbled as the hallway starts to twist. I regain my balance and keep pushing forward. Am I going in the wrong direction? Was I maybe supposed to go the other way? I don't really think turning back is the best idea, especially since I've come so far. There is no turning back. Finally, I reach the end of the long and twisted corridor. There is a large archway that leads to a set of spiral stairs. I look behind me and the hall is so twisted that further down the corridor, the floor is where the ceiling should be in relation to where I am standing. There's something else. A figure is walking towards me from where I came. They are very far off, and I can't make out who they are from this distance. From my perspective, they're upside down. Ooh, that's creepy. Or are they right side up? Either way, I'm curious and don't want to be alone in this odd situation, so I wait for them. After a few seconds, I realize that they aren't getting any closer. It's as if they're walking in place. Their presence starts to unnerve me, so I give up and step through the archway. I take my first step down the stairs, holding onto the banister. As I go on, I start to shake from the cold. My whole body is freezing. After it feels like I've descended about 3 floors, I come across a figure on the staircase. They're facing away from me with their hands behind their back. I want to move forward and approach the figure, but I'm frozen in place. My body wants to keep going. The figure moves. They begin to walk up the stairs backwards. First one foot, then the next. It's not like they're moving in reverse. The way they are moving looks like they are actually walking up the stairs backwards. Oh my god, that's so creepy. I don't really have much time to contemplate this, however, as I find myself stumbling up the stairs. I don't know what is going on, but I have a very bad feeling about this. The figure starts to pick up the pace. Each of their footsteps loosely slap against the slabs of stone. I miss one of the steps on my way up and trip, barely making it far enough to gain distance. I turn around just in time to see the figure bend backwards and loom over me. Ah! Boy. I jostle on the mattress, feeling like I was just jabbed in the sides. I hear a knock at the door and instantly mutter out a response in a confused and tired tone. Yes? Ryssler, please open the damn door. I muster my strength and rise out of bed, trying not to let all the blood rush to my head. Alright, I'm coming. I straighten out my clothes and quickly fix my hair. The key is laying on the desk where I left it. I pick it up and unlock the door. Lyall stands in the doorway, panting slightly, trying to catch his breath. Lord Kadaj is here. Huh? The ambassador from Dris. He's here. How long has he been here? About half an hour, I think. He was heading to the throne room with Raynar. I passed them in the hall while on my walk and he asked me to come and get you. How long was I asleep? You were asleep? Yeah. I thought you were supposed to be working. I was working, I can't really think of an excuse, so I cut myself off and sigh in defeat while he smugly smirks at me. You were asleep for about 30 minutes, I'd wager. Tidy up and make yourself look a bit more presentable. I touched my forehead with my hand and realized I was sweating. Okay. That nightmare was incredibly bizarre. I've never really had cryptic nightmares like that before. I've been getting them a lot lately. Actually, they started after I got here. Why can't I go back to having nice dreams, like that one where I was flying? I grab a towel from the dresser next to my bed and dunk it into a bowl of cold water. I run it over my face and around my neck. Then I straighten out my clothes and fix my hair. How do I look? You look great. Nice. He gets the door and holds it open for me. Thank you. You're very welcome, my lord. Please don't. I was pleased with how good the cold water from the towel felt on my face. Stepping out into the cool chill of the afternoon makes me regret doing it, though. My face feels like it's going to freeze up and crack like porcelain. Follow me. The throne room is this way. He leads me down a flight of stairs at the end of the hallway. I notice there are a lot of plants growing on the walls the further we go. I can hear leaves crunching underneath my shoes. We're further away from the outdoor hallways and getting closer to the inside of the castle. It's a lot warmer and I enjoy the feeling of the fire coming from the torches above. Lyall turns a corner leading me down another hallway with a considerable amount of flowers and leaves adorning the walls. I assume the vitality fire coming from the torches is what's keeping these plants alive. I watch his large poofy tails which swish back and forth as he walks ahead of me. He has a funny way of walking where he puts a lot of the movement in his arms and shoulders. We arrive at a large archway and Lyall steps to the side, gesturing for me to walk through. Wow, this throne room is so pretty. What I see next is the most marvelous room I have ever laid eyes on. It's not much in terms of size, but it feels like something out of a dream. Large gold-tinted windows line the walls, casting light onto the floor. The entire hall is teeming with life. Patches of grass and plants are bursting out of the foundation and golden flowers grow off of them like spots of sun. Their petals dance to the ground gracefully and lay in piles on the floor. The main attraction, however, is a peculiar sight at the very end of the hall. The ground has burst through the platform and the grassy patch has taken its place. On top of this, a large tree stump has been carved into a massive throne. Cushions line the seat and the golden crest of Tigran sits atop the back of the throne. I see Lyre's banners lining the walls, with the Ossian family crest upon them and a large green rug leading up to the throne. Lyall and I begin to walk down the hall, with me taking the lead. Raynar is standing with his arms behind his back at the end of the hall, speaking with who I assume to be Lord Kadaj. Even from here, I can tell that he is a feline. The pointy ears and tail give it away. I can't name what species he is, though. It's definitely not a species that I've ever seen, and I'm not very good with that sort of thing anyway. He's about my height, maybe just a bit taller, and he's wearing a sharp green outfit with a smug attitude. His fur pattern is very intricate, and his ears have fluffy tufts coming off the ends. The feature that stands out the most, however, is his eyes. They are large, cat-like eyes and they shine like emeralds. His tail lightly whips to and fro in a lazy manner. Raynar notices me approaching and turns in my direction. "Ah, there he is, our royal financial advisor." I give him a nod and a smile as I approach. My apologies for being a bit late. I was not very prepared. Lyall forces himself to hold back a laugh. Kadaj speaks up. "If anyone should be apologizing for being late, it's me." I'm now close enough that he reaches out a paw. "Please allow me to properly introduce myself. I am Lord Kadaj of Duris." I take his paw and shake firmly. "It's very nice to meet you, Lord Kadaj. I'm Lord Reisler of Erin, and this is Lyall Reed, Captain of the Royal Guard." "It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Lord Reisler and Lyall Reed. King Raynar has mentioned you quite a bit." I look to Raynar and he looks at the two of us. "All good things." "It's true. We were just exchanging stories. I was just telling King Raynar the story of why I was delayed." "What happened?" He breathes in and begins to explain. "We were making our way through the canyon pass when we were sat upon by bandits. My soldiers fought bravely, but we were out of our element and easily cornered." "That sounds terrible." "My men fought them off, but they stole our carriages and carts, riding off, leaving us stranded. There weren't too many casualties, thankfully, but we were stranded in the canyons with no food or water. It took us about a day and a half, but we finally came upon an outpost. I sent a letter to Juris and made sure the outpost would be compensated for the horses, carts, and supplies we borrowed. After that, we made it through the rest of the canyon pass and up through the northern run." He pauses and we let this revelation sink in. "Something needs to be done about those bandit groups south of the glade. It's bad enough that they prey on travelers, but now they're directly attacking royal officials." He turns to Kadaj and nods his head. "Rest assured, I will do what I can to resolve this issue. My advisor and war minister is away on a sensitive diplomatic mission, and I estimate she will not return for a couple of weeks. If there is anything that I can do to help, please let me know." "Thank you, but I believe that something like this would be conducted best with her here." "The king's advisor?" I was wondering why I hadn't met them yet. "However, I trust that you will be able to handle the task that I have given you with care." "Of course, your majesty. That's why I'm here." Here it comes. "You can just call me Raynar." "Bingo." "As you wish." A silence falls over the golden hall, and before we let it get too awkward, I speak up. "An avalanche wiped out half of my entourage and I was wounded for a couple of days." "Really?" Yes, that's a bit blunt. He's right. I should have went about that better. I'm not very good at telling stories. My apologies. I haven't really had the chance to tell anyone yet. How's that? Well, when you're knocked out for 4 days, everyone seems to find out before you do. It takes him a moment, but Kadaj lets out a short, loud laugh. You're very clever. He gives me a curt nod and a smile. People always tell me I'm too clever for my own good. Don't worry, I think it's a good type of clever. Thanks. I give him a smile and turn to Raynar. So this is the throne room. Raynar turns in the direction of their throne, biting his lip. Yes, and this is my throne. It's a very handsome chair. Yes, but not as comfortable as one would think. Some say that it's the source of all life in the kingdom. Looks like it. I gesture around the room and out into the hall. Raynar chuckles. Yes, well, they also say that the water from deep under the ground is what gives this area life. The tree was cut ages ago, but it still continues to thrive. And yet it will never reach its true potential. Adrius announces his arrival by walking through a door behind the throne. I take it you've finished your classes? Of course. Lord Kadaj, this is my son, Prince Adrius. Raynar gestures toward Adrius as he approaches us. Kadaj strides forward and bows in front of Adrius. Prince Adrius, it is an honor to make your acquaintance. Adrius seems pleased with this display. Thank you, my lord. I take it your trip went smoothly? Not as smooth as one would have hoped. I ran into some trouble on the road. I can explain to you later if you like, but right now I need a hot bath and some rest. He walks up to me and grabs both of my hands in his paws. It was a pleasure meeting you, my lords Rysler and Lyall. I can't say I've met many humans. Lyall gives a quick bow of acknowledgement. I can't say I've met many, caracals. Yes, forgive me. My knowledge on different species is a bit rusty. There's nothing to be forgiven. I'm a bit of a rare species. He turns and bows to Raynar and Adrius. It was very nice meeting you, Raynar and Adrius. I'll take my leave. Hopefully my guards haven't trashed my room yet. Adrius looks less than pleased at being referred to without his title. Kadaj then walks down the hall and disappears through the archway, his tail whipping around the corner. Before anything else can happen, Adrius speaks up. Lord Rysler, I'd like to have a word with my father alone if you don't mind. Raynar looks to his son with an inquisitive look. Of course. I'll be going now. Goodbye. Take care. I turn and walk down the hall with Lyall following behind me. I can hear Adrius mumbling something to Raynar as I round the corner. Even with the echoing halls, it's hard to make out what he's saying. We make our way a couple steps down the corridor before Lyall speaks. He seems a bit eccentric. I take a seat on one of the benches nearby and rest my head against the back of the wall. I like him. Lyall sits down next to me, lifting his tail so that he doesn't sit on it. I don't know. I don't trust him. He crosses his arms and looks at me. He seems like a man with motives. Is it because he's a cat? No, it's not because he's a cat. That's a bit rude, you know. He has an annoyed look in his face. I was only joking, but I'm sorry. It's fine. I actually enjoy cats. They're good at making conversation. As we talk, I notice two guards walking down the hallway, with their helmets under their shoulders. One is an eagle who looks to be in his late 30s, and the other is a large bear with a braided beard. They're wearing the same type of armor as Lyall. When they get close enough, the bear nudges the eagle, looking in Lyall's direction. He whispers something in the eagle's ear, which makes the eagle chuckle. They get closer, so I decide to stare at the wall and pretend I'm lost in thought. Lyall watches them as they pass. Gentlemen. Captain. They both say this in unison, one a bit more begrudgingly than the other. Lyall gives a nod, and they both continue moving down the hallway. I wonder what that was all about. As I was saying. He bends over, resting an elbow on his knee and begins to speak in a more hushed voice. You can't just blindly put your trust into people like him. I know that. I never said I trusted him. I just think he seems nice. And what do you mean by that? By what? People like him. It's not like that. I meant ambassadors and diplomats. I give him plenty of time to let those words settle in before talking. Lyall, I'm an ambassador. Yeah, but I mean you're not. You don't. I trust you, though. And somehow, I know you won't make me regret it. I'm taken aback by this and can't think of what to say at first. Lyall, I thank you for putting your trust in me. I'm just here to help. I won't let you down. He stands up and looks down at me. I know. I get up too and carry on with walking down the hallways. Lyall catches up to me and matches his pace with mine. Hey, I want to show you something really cool. What is it? You'll see. Follow me. I want to dispute this at first, but I shrug my shoulders and follow him down the halls. We stroll down a corridor overlooking a courtyard, and up ahead there's an exit that leads outside. Lyall picks up his pace, practically speed walking. He reaches the archway and turns around, standing there waiting for me to catch up. I reach the opening and look outside. Pretty, huh? Wow, it's so pretty! The cold fall wind lightly whips my face, and I'm found staring at a beautiful garden. Smooth, round stones and berry bushes line the dirt path. Each berry is red and shining, almost as big as cherry tomatoes. The entire garden is surrounded by stone walls and large, thick trees. This place feels more natural than most gardens, like a serene sanctuary. Birds chirp and wind blows through the trees, causing leaves to dance to the ground. Towards the center is a pond with a fruit tree. The fruit tree has round pink fruit growing on it. Some of the fruit has fallen to the ground next to the pond and at the base of the tree. The pond has a strange green glow to it, as if there are lights at the bottom. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh wow! Welcome to my favorite place in the kingdom. It's beautiful out here, and it's also a really nice day. The weather usually fares better this time of day. He's right, the cold isn't that bad with the sunlight basking on my skin. I guess I should enjoy moments like this before the weather becomes too unbearable. Oh, here. We walk over to one of the berry bushes and he plucks one of them. Try one of these. Oh, I take the berry and put it in my mouth. I take a bite out of it and instantly it bursts with flavor in my mouth. It's not necessarily the best taste, but it feels good. The berry was cold, which is good, because I like cold fruit. That was pretty good. A smile breaks out on his face and he pops a berry in his mouth. Yeah, they're really good. Rainer absolutely loves them. Really? Yeah. Sometimes he'll take walks through the garden and pick berries to bring up to his room in a basket. They grow really fast, so we always have plenty. Also, all of the fruit in the garden is unaffected by winter, so we don't have to worry about them. That is actually really cool. Now that he mentions it, I was wondering why the fruit was still on its trees, especially since it snowed a couple times while I was here. Of course, it wasn't enough snow to be bad. It snows much more up in the mountains. Thinking about the snow in the mountains causes me to think of the avalanche. I try to push it out of my mind, but a horrible feeling begins to overwhelm me. What's wrong? It's nothing. My mind has just been at racing lately. I don't know. Sometimes I'll catch myself talking to people, but I'm not even paying attention to what I'm saying or what the other person is saying. Does that ever happen to you? Yeah, sometimes. But that's not what's bothering you, is it? How could you tell? I may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm good at being able to tell when someone's lying. Is that why you don't like Kadaj? Well, I guess. The problem with him is that I couldn't tell whether he was lying or telling the truth. And in my opinion, that's worse. Now stop changing the subject. What's wrong? I clasp my hands together in front of me and continue to walk down the path at a slow pace. My thoughts have been going dark places recently. I've been trying to push them out, but they keep resurfacing. What are these thoughts about? Well, so much has happened recently. A lot of it happened while I was out, so it feels like it's happening too fast. By the time I had woken up after being knocked out for so long, the survivors had already left for Erin. I don't even know who died. Did I know them? Then my mind starts racing with more thoughts of what happened. I've never really been bothered by something like this before. I fiddle with one of the buttons on my vest as we walk. I don't know why, but death has never really bothered me that much. Sometimes I feel like I'm forcing myself to act shocked or sad. Growing up, people close to me or people I knew would die all the time. I guess that I'm just numb to it. Or I was. This time, it's different. With each passing day, the guilt gets worse and worse, and I take a moment to catch my breath. I just miss home, I guess. As childish as that sounds. I throw one of the berries to the side of the path in anger. That's not childish. Yes, it is. I know he's right, but I just feel so stupid right now. It's completely normal to be homesick. Do you have any family? A wife? Oh boy. No, I'm not married. Really? I figured you would be one of the most desirable bachelors in your kingdom. I try with all my might not to get too flustered by this comment. Yes, well, if only I desired them as much as they desired me. We keep walking for a moment before he finally takes the hint. Oh, oh, I had no idea. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I would have never guessed. He puts a paw on my shoulder, smiling. Yeah, most people don't. I want to change the subject, but he beats me to it. You might not like to hear this, because it's often the phrase most people use, but they're in a better place now. That was a tragic accident, and you shouldn't blame yourself for it. I don't blame myself for it, it just terrifies me thinking about it. Death has always been a pretty confusing subject for me. I mean, I grew up being taught to feel a certain way about something, but then after a while I become numb to those feelings. And then when those feelings really do take over, my entire mind just shuts down. Do you know what I mean? I can kind of understand. He runs his paw through his neck fluff again. Thanks for listening. I'd rather not talk about it anymore. We step off to the path and stroll over to the pond underneath the fruit tree. I sit down in the grass and Lyall walks up to the tree. He picks 2 ripe fruits from the branches and walks back over to where I'm sitting. He throws me a fruit, which I catch clumsily. Its skin is a bit tough, and the hole where the stem was is dripping with a sticky substance. It's gotten all over my right hand, but I ignore it. He takes a seat on the tree stump in front of me with an understanding smile on his face. Raynar can keep his weird chair. This is my throne. He then takes a large bite out of the bottom of the fruit, getting juice all over his mouth in the process. Aw, Lyall, so cute. So? Yes? You prefer the company of men? Oh, so that's what you got out of that little chat we just had? I jab at his leg with my foot. Hey, you were the one who said you didn't want to talk about the avalanche anymore. Can you blame me for being curious? I fold my hands on my lap and look down at the pond water. I guess I can't. Sorry, I usually have a habit of dropping that information like a bomb. I'm not too open about it, but I also don't try to hide it. And you most likely won't have to. Most people in Lyre are perfectly fine with it. Yeah, I heard. I don't know. I've just never really been interested in women. Neither have I. Oh my god, really? He shuffles his feet on the ground and looks at the fruit in his paws. Wait, really? Yeah. I mean, growing up I thought I liked girls, but as I got a bit older, I realized that I didn't. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. I can't believe this is happening. I'm really happy to hear this, but also super nervous. Does he think I'm trying to make a move on him? Is he making a move on me? My mind spirals out of control for a brief moment. It's been a problem for me in the past, but it doesn't bother me that much anymore. Yeah, I try not to let it bother me either. There's a long pause. It seems like the both of us don't know whether to continue on this topic or change the subject. I hold up my fruit that he gave me. What is this? Oh, that's a dragon apricot. They're really sweet, and they have a lot of juice. Yeah, I can tell. I point to his muzzle, which confuses him for a second. He goes to lick it off, but completely misses. Oh, he's doing the blab, so cute. He then sticks his tongue out at me. They turn your tongue orange. I chuckle at his silly display, and he laughs too. He's right, they do turn your tongue orange. I take a bite into mine and my mouth bursts with flavor. I don't really enjoy the texture that much, but its pros outweigh the cons. This is really good. Yeah, just watch out for the seed in the middle. I look down and sure enough there's a seed exposed from my bite. We continue to eat and talk as the sun slowly sets over the mountains. After a while, we head inside the castle and make our way back to my room. I have a question. Ask away. Why aren't you wearing your armor? Oh, um, today is my 23rd birthday. I get the day off. Why didn't you tell me? Because it's not really that important to me, and I wanted to spend the day with you without it being too extra. I wouldn't have spent all morning doing work if I knew that it was your birthday. Reisler, honestly, it's fine. I enjoyed being able to relax. Plus, that armor is a real pain in the shoulders. He rolls his shoulders back and smiles. Getting on the topic of Lyall's armor causes me to remember those guards we saw outside of the throne room. Hey, Lyall? Yes, Reisler? Do you remember those two guards whispering about us in the hallway? He takes a moment to answer. Yes? What do you think they were talking about? Reisler, I think they were talking about me. They think that I'm your lackey. He looks down at the ground with a frown. But you're not. You were just assigned to be my guard. It's a bit confusing though, don't you think? The captain of the royal guard was assigned to guard an ambassador when he should be guarding the king. Raynor appointed me as captain for certain reasons that he feels he doesn't need to justify, and the other guards are confused by it. Well, what do you think? He picks a leaf off of one of the vines and examines it. I trust our king's judgment. He's very wise and has plenty of experience. I believe that he chose me for a reason. My ability to command, my mentality, my youth, whatever it may be. And he assigned me to be you because, well, I don't know. But there are other guards with much more experience who can protect the king and the prince. And I like being your guard. He looks down at me with a smile. I like it too. We arrive at the door to my room and Lyall opens it. Reisler? Yes? I know that you're pretty open about it, but I won't tell anyone about what we talked about earlier. Oh, thanks. I don't really care if you do, though. Okay, just, can you promise me something? Sure. Please don't tell anyone about what I said. Of course. Thank you. I step inside and lean against the doorway. Good night, Lyall. Good night. He takes off down the hall at a slow pace. He walks down the hall. I hear him yell back to me. Don't forget to lock the door. I know. I yell back to him. Happy birthday! He turns around, ears red, giving a shy smile. Thanks. He walks off with his tail wagging. I close the door behind me, lock it, and take off my clothes. The blankets on my bed are nice and warm due to the natural heat. I slowly drift off to sleep, thinking about Lyall. Yee. Okay, so we'll save it here. Alright, go back to the main menu. Okay, so that's it for the third part of my Let's Read. I'm making that term now. For Lyre, the visual novel. So, thank you for listening, guys. And see you on the next one. Bye!